welcome to the Meru Media Podcast with Mukunda Raghavan. Hi everyone, and welcome to Meru Media. This is Mukunda Raghavan today, and I am actually joined by Madurai Gopi Shankar, who is a Hindu LGBT activist, and I would say scholar in Tamil Nadu particularly, and he spends his time across India lecturing, talking about both LGBTQ rights, and maybe you could correct me on the full acronym, but the rights, their history, and tradition. So, Gopi, if I can call you Gopi, thank you and welcome to the program. How are you today?
Yeah, thank you, Mukund, and I'm doing well in the midst of COVID-19, and everything is fine here. So Tamil Nadu is doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing well. It's, we're in a similar kind of lockdown, but probably not as intense as yours, because our cases are much more. We have more cases than you guys right now in India.
Okay.
So
I was my US trip was cancelled because of COVID-19, and I was about to be in DC, and then there were a few programs in New Jersey and New York, but then everything got cancelled because
yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it was like global cancellations. I had a few trips planned too, and they had to be canceled. So I'm sorry that you didn't make it out to the US, but hopefully you'll be coming soon.
Yes, once after all this is all this gets better, so
yeah,
definitely.
So Gopi, can you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of like your history and how you came upon the journey that you're kind of doing now?
To tell about myself, I was born in Madurai, and then I spent primary time in Ramakrishna Math and Mission in Mylapore in Chennai, and I kind of grew up there, and so I was mentored by a lot of important monks who are serving our dharma in a very constructive manner. They're doing a lot of constructive work for our dharma, and
sure.
I grew up seeing them, and of course, like the Math is like was started by Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda.
Sure.
Krishna Math and Mission, and so we call Sharda Devi, the Sangamata, as the Holy Mother, and Sri Ram Krishna as Guru Maharaj, and so Math takes care of more than 3 million children in India, provides them a kind of subsidized and free education, and it takes care of their well-being, and so they have institutes of higher learning, universities, colleges, schools, home for gifted children who are disowned by their parents. So it might exist for more than 110 years now.
Okay. I mean, I know quite a bit about Ramakrishna, but we actually interviewed about I would say 6, 7 months ago, Jeffrey Long, who used to be, or who's still affiliated with Ramakrishna Mata, in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, where he's a professor of religious studies. So, and the Mata is pretty, it's pretty global. So it's very hard to miss, right?
Yeah. And the mutt in US, especially the one in LA, I mean the California one, the Vedanta Society of Hollywood have
Right.
been a kind of shelter or an asylum for, from the beginning. A lot of people like Christopher Sherwood or a lot of gay writers
Right.
lived there.
Right.
They lived it. That was the time America didn't even allow women to vote.
Yeah.
So the Ramakrishna Mata Mission Center acted as their because these people left UK and they came to US and they lived in Tobacco Canyon, the monastery
Right.
there, and um, also the India's first LGBTI organization, Hamsafar Trust, was started by Ashok Ravkavi,
Mhm.
who was in Ramakrishna Mat earlier. He
Right.
came out of Ramakrishna Mat with the permission of the monks, and he couldn't kind of continue his training as a brahmachari. So to become a monk, they have at least 10 to 12 years of training we need to undergo. If we are not successful with that, then we cannot become monks, and
Sure.
we need to be within 28. They teach us the Abrahamic theologies, the Abrahamic faith, and they teach us all darshanas within our dharma, and
Sure.
they teach us Hellenistic philosophies and everything. But they they but everything through our dharma.
Right.
They kind of we have acharyas in Belur Math, in Kolkata, which is the headquarters. So I spent my primary time there, and I was taking care. I was part of this editorial board of Ramakrishna Vijayam, which is one of the oldest and first Tamil spiritual magazine, started in 1925.
Uh-huh.
I was in the editorial board at the time. I was, I think, 17, and now I'm 28.
So 11 years. So when did you first go to the Ramakrishna Mata and start your journey with the Mata?
I started it when I was, I think, 12, like that. Yeah.
Okay.
13.
So, I mean, did this, if you don't mind me asking, since you are an activist within the LGBTQ community, when did you start that process? Was it when you first started Ramakrishna Mata, or a little bit after, or how did that come into play?
When I was inside Mud, actually, because I was not even aware of the term LGBTQIA or anything, because because Mutt is a very liberal space. We celebrate, we respect every religion. Mutt insist on religious harmony, but at the same time, the Mutt upholds the integrity of Sanatan Dharma, and it is based on and it is for our Dharma.
Okay.
Any forms of indigenous traditions around the globe can be included in their Sanatan Dharma, and that is Sanatan Dharma, except Abrahamic traditions, which is the answer for your question is that Mutt is a very liberal space, and like it was a space which always advocated for celebrating our true nature, or celebrating my true self. So in the process in which we had to kind of go through whatever we feel, whatever we think about, we share it with the senior monks. They guide us, and it's a kind of brotherhood inside. And so when they kind of noticed few things, and when I was not kind of um, I felt a bit different about my sexual orientation or my gender identity, and mm, they kind of like they were completely okay with that, and they were one of the senior monk. Swami Gautamananda Ji Maharaj, my guru, Swami Gitananji, who was the former vice president of Ramakrishna Math Mission. He is no more. He attained Mahasamadhi. So he insisted that my sex identity or my sex characteristics or my gender identity or my sexual orientation, these four are different things. But at the time, I didn't know all this.
Sure.
So, but he insisted my sexual orientation or sex characteristics or gender identity is one important aspect of my life, but it is not only aspect to look up to.
Right.
So he said that that is important, but that is not all about you. You're more than that. You're more than all these identities and labels, you know. um, so during even morning Vedanta classes, some senior monks even quoted me, Adi Shankara, say, that so it was pure Advaita, like in some sense that I'm neither this nor that, and like, but still it is integral part of me. I mean, the body where the life resides. So this is the kind of approach I got.
Okay.
It was not kind of a, a kind of a neoliberal, conservative, feminist approach, which kind of abuse womanhood or motherhood, because the very kind of approach I saw with Sri Ramakrishna is that you don't need to be a woman to be a mother.
Right.
Being mother has nothing to do with women's or female anatomy. So anything can be a mother, anyone can be a mother. Sri Ramakrishna was the mother of Vivekananda, guru of Vivekananda, and I mean, in our Puranas, uh, a lot of trees are considered as mother. Even we consider Bhumi, Prithvi as mother. And the point is that this reflection of the motherhood, the nature is with every one of us. But the very kind of duality or the binary notions of feminine and masculine, it itself is not true, because there is nothing called masculine and feminine in our dharma. We never believed in the duality of sin or non-sin, or because for us the concept of life and non-life is different. For us, atom is also a living particle like a cell, because cells are made up of atoms, and we consider both as equal, because Sri Ramakrishna gave life to the pratimas by invoking the name of mother. The mother deity, that is Dakshineshwar Kali, spoke to him. And that's how, whether it is Andal, the deity speaking to Andal, or after Andal, recent days, we had Meera,
Mm-hmm.
whether speaking to Meera or Akka Mahadevi, it is same, I believe. And our dharma is vast, and it helped me to treat me with dignity,
Okay.
with a lot of um, a kind of a sense of humility to um, a kind of an human approach to understand more about myself and to see the connection between me and everything around me.
Sure.
So that's what the mutt helped me, or my dharma helped me.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry.
So I mean, if I can probe a little, if you don't mind, when did you, I mean, did did you were you born? I mean, I'm guessing you were born a certain biological um, sex, and then but you identified as a different one. And because I don't fully understand, your history that way, so I'm kind of just asking to understand. And how did that? When did you first find out, and how did it affect you? And did you have tensions? And the Mata was supportive, but was rest of society in India at the time the same?
Um, Actually, um, the point is that like intersex
Mm-hmm.
is kind of sex characteristics, because before going to that, I want
Sure.
to explain the difference between sex, gender, sexual orientation, and sex characteristics.
Absolutely.
So, you were Mukunji, you were assigned as male at birth.
Yeah.
You never decided to be assigned as male at birth.
No.
Like that, few of us, I mean, people like me, some of us, we never decide to be identified or assigned as intersex at birth.
Yeah.
Before 20 years, doctor never used the term intersex in medical records. Even now, they never use the term intersex in medical records. How they assign the sex to the baby is based on the very kind of phenotype and genotype of the child,
Yeah.
the infant, sorry. So if they cannot assign the infant or kind of classify the infant or fit the infant within the binary sex notions of the society, that is male and female, the baby is classified as, the earlier term was hermaphrodite,
Hermaphrodite.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
quite Hellenistic. But it is, some people consider, a lot of people, a good number of people from intersex community consider it as a derogatory term,
Okay.
or not a term with dignity. So the notions around the term was not treated in a very dignified manner. So they preferred using the term intersex.
I just want
Some,
to interrupt you for one point here, because it's interesting, because I think this point, even the term hermaphrodite, right? It's from Greek, right? It's Hermes and Aphrodite joined together, much like Ardhana, like Shiva and Shakti is Ardhanarishvara. So in the ancient world, it wasn't an issue, but I think in the modern world, probably large part to do to Christianity and Islam has
uh,
changed.
yeah, but we need to understand that hermaphrodites, or these people are not hijras or jogapas
Yes.
or beginners or transgender people.
Yeah.
This is sex characteristics. No child or no infant can be
Chooses it.
born
Yeah.
as a hijra or a trans person.
Mm-hmm.
So even within the ancient hijra community, um, we they called them as Mabedi Husalis or Antarlingvashis.
Uh-huh.
So they had a kind of unique identity for themselves, a distant identity for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is that, yeah, I mean, not Ardhanarishwara, the term we use for Ardhanarishwara is Nitrois. Nitrois is like having the reproductive system of, or the biological as well as the physiological features of both male and female.
Mm.
That is very rare in human being,
Yeah.
or Homo sapiens. So we call that condition as nitrois. Very rarely, but then intersex is not completely ambiguous, which
Okay.
means that these children will have both male and female reproductive system. No, it is not like that. They may have a very kind of unclear. For example, their phenotype may be male, but their genotype will be of female.
Can you explain the two then? Like, so by the genes, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I kind of want our listeners, a lot of them might not have the background to understand the genotype phenotype demarcation.
So, like for example, physically, the child may appear to look like male, but internally, anatomically, like the chromosome of the child may not be XY of the male. It will be XX.
Or it could be XXY or some variation on that, right?
Yeah, there are 40 plus intersex variations. Not all intersex variations are visible during the birth.
Right.
Only at least 2 to 3 intersex variations are visible during the birth. There are that is male pseudohermaphroditism or female pseudohermaphroditism or true hermaphroditism. These are the 3 different like the infant as male or female. So within a week or a month, the child undergo a medical procedure without any medical protocol, standard medical protocol. This procedure is followed, which was started in America.
Okay.
Which itself starts from the very kind of Abrahamic view of God created male and female or man and women in the God's image.
Yeah.
So they believe only the two sex are the true sex. The rest of the sex are not true sex. So the science, especially the medical science, which need to uphold the scientific values, failed to uphold the scientific values by popularizing the normalizing surgeries, like, for example, this so-called normalizing surgery, in which the child will be cosmetically operated to look like a male or a female. It was exported throughout the world from 1970s, like every countries around US, including India, started following it. Now it is popular everywhere, and this normalizing surgery is also known as sex selective surgeries or sex normalizing surgeries, or so-called corrective surgery, or
all those terms are so patronizing and terrible, right? Like even the concept of normalizing, as if like these children are abnormal or something wrong with them to be fixed. It's just terrible.
Yes, and in Ayurveda or in any indigenous forms of medicine, this was not considered as, they never pathologized. It is not a disorder, deficiency, or a disease. Okay. But then the Anglo-Saxonic or the very kind of allopathic or the Western medicine, is considering it as it is pathologizing it as a disorder.
Right. I mean, if I can ask, and we'll go forward. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have questions while you're explaining these things, because I think it's important to kind of flesh it out. So you indicated in the 70s, America had kind of exported the normalizing function of this. What was India doing before the 70s, before this normalization surgery or corrective surgery, whatever you want to call it, came to India? How would they approach that particular issue or that particular circumstance, to be honest?
Yeah, before going to that, I just
Okay.
want to complete the difference between
Sure.
sex, gender, and sexual orientation.
Sorry.
So when the child is born, male, female, and intersex.
Mhm.
So that intersex, now you might have understood, or the listeners must have understood what is intersex. That not all intersex conditions are visible during the birth. Only at least 2 to 3 conditions are visible during the birth, for which the infants are undergoing this normalizing surgery or sex selective surgeries. In India, especially places like Rajasthan, UP, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh, to inherit the property, places like Bihar, to inherit the properties, the parents prefer, when such infant is born, the parents prefer the child to be operated as, male, or assigned as male, cosmetically assigned. So when the baby grew up, the baby doesn't grow up as male or female. Like we don't know what is the true nature of the prakriti of the being. So before going to that, so this is sex identity. Like you are assigned as male, that is your sex identity, but you were raised as a man and you chose to live as a man. That is your gender identity.
Okay.
So male is different from man. Sex identity is different from gender identity. Sex identity is something biological. We can self-determine our gender identity. We can self-determine our sexual orientation. That is, whether I'm a heterosexual person or a homosexual person or a bisexual or asexual, or there are more than 15 types of sexual orientations.
Sure.
Or so we can self-determine our gender identity and sexual orientation, but we cannot self-determine our sex characteristics.
So when you say you could determine your gender identity or your sexual orientation, are you saying you can choose it, or are you saying that you can figure it out?
We can self-determine it. We can self-determine, matlab we can declare it. That,
okay, so.
See, I was assigned as male at birth, but I chose to live as a man. Tomorrow, if I chose to live as a woman, I'm a trans woman. I may be a trans woman, but I'm not a female. But then, like, I can have any sexual orientation. I can be a trans, I can be um, um, a kind of trans lesbian or a trans gay or any other transsexual women or a woman. I chose to live with a male. So the point is that the very kind of politics around self-identity and self-determination. People need to be very conscious about understanding that an individual can self-determine their gender identity and sexual orientation. That is, Mukund ji can self-determine your gender identity. Gender identity constitutes of biological, physiological, psychological, sociological, religious, cultural, expandable list of attributions coming together frame a gender identity. It's like a garment.
Yeah.
Whereas you never decided, or you cannot self-determine, because even before you self-determine, you were conscious, you were born, or you came to this world as male.
Yeah.
Your mother cannot decide that. You cannot decide that. The nature decides that.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
So that is so the difference between sex identity is that male, female, and intersex is sex characteristics, and gender identity we have man, women, and transgender people. We even before the term transgender, which originated from America in late 1950s, we had native indigenous terms for these gender diverse people. So even before the term transgender, these people were known with different names, in different names in India. Because when I mean India, I mean the Bharat of the Bharat of Ashoka's grandfather. that
Chandragupta,
is
yeah.
Chandragupta Maurya.
Yeah.
So he ruled from half of the Afghanistan to Tibet to the down south to some even beyond the borders of Kashmir. So, I mean, India was one at the time from the beginning. Bharat was interconnected with its darshanas, its philosophies,
Yeah.
always. There may be diverse kingdoms, but the Shiva we worshipped in uh, um, in Chidambaram is the Shiva we worshipped in Nepal or in Himalayas or in Kashmir or in Pakistan or in Afghanistan or in anywhere else around.
Yeah.
That we have the largest Hindu temple in Cambodia, not in India.
Yeah.
So, coming back, mm, so we had diverse names for them. That is, whether it may be hijras or Kwajisiras in Pakistan or whereas Bakshupashis are different in Afghanistan, in Iran, or they are like because people always associate pedophils or pedophilic terms or identities. Even Enoch is a derogatory term. It refers to castrated man. Uh, the very kind of etymological notions before 2500 years before Buddha was born was completely different. Things change for every 10 years, even every day. So we cannot notion, uh, or the very kind of experience what we underwent now,
Right.
under now. So um, hijras or kinners or Arvanis of South India or Bhagavatis of Kerala or Mangalamukhis of Konkan region or Nopi Mandis of Northeast or Northeastern India or Saki Bekis of Bengal region. Uh, so uh, a culture and a philosophy and a social stratification and a language um, is originating on the basis of gender identity, sex identity, and sexual orientation, and sex characteristics of an individual human being in India. So the language they spoke in the northern belt is known as Hijra Farsi, mixture of Sanskrit and Adivasi Bhashas along with Urdu. And the south they speak Kauti Bhasha, which is mixture of again Sanskrit, Tamil, and Adivasi Bhashas. So that is indigenous languages. So um, they have gender-specific rituals and temples. Arvani is worship Arvan, the son
Yeah.
of Arjuna,
And
who got
Udupi.
married to Krishna. So, and these are the folk traditions which are still alive in most of the villages in south and north and northeast and northwest. Or so this is what Bharat is. How beautiful it is! Like even now, these rituals in the temples are there, and even before the church recognizing a woman, we have gods and goddess who are gender variant, who played a gender fluid role without any guilt, because for us pink is not for boys and blue pink is not for girls and blue is not for boys, and that was not our tradition at all. But then the growing or evolving heteronormative binary toxic masculine notions within India is horrible uh, because like the Bible approach is Jesus as male or Allah in a very masculine notion through Quran. We cannot approach Shiva as male or Vishnu as male. Whether it is Bhakti literature or the very kind of literature which comes from non-agamic and agamic traditions, whether it is smritis or shrutis, when they describe about the very kind of the source, the life source, where everything originates from, it is genderless, it is sexless, it is with form and without form. It has Nitya Kalyana Gunagana, like the Perumal we worship in South. And always, because our Perumal, I'm living in Madurai, very close to Srivilputtur. And Andal always have been my symbol for the queer identity. The way she is marrying or kind of calling upon the source of universe to hold. I mean, the source of universe is holding her legs and wearing. I mean, these are the beautiful stories, and like these are not just stories. A lived experience, maybe it may have a deeper darshanas to look into. Darshanas means philosophy, but I cannot equate the word philosophy with darshanas. So that's why I'm using the word darshanas. So coming back, mm, a lot of queer people, when I mean queer people, the larger LGBTQIA community, we consider in ancient days that, oh, Krishna, or even before Krishna, Rama, Krishna is our first husband. Or so, I mean, the notion like this, the very kind of relationship like this, um, I don't know how many traditions still protects it or have a space for such thoughts and emotions.
Well, I mean, I mean, just to interject, I think you're totally on point here, because if you look at any of the Bhakti literature, even Jayadeva Ashtapadis, right? You have Jayadeva putting himself in the shoes of Padmavati, making love to Krishna in a very sensual way, even though he is a man and male writing as a lover of Krishna. It's a very beautiful way of describing the relationship between Bhagavat, Bhagavati, Brahman, and the individual Atma, whatever. But I think like the even bigger part is, half the time, even in the Gita, Krishna will say something like, I am the mother, the father, the grandfather of the universe, basically indicating that gender to him, he's all genders, he is no gender, and you can't just speak about any deva, devi in a very binary dualistic way, because first of all, our entire tradition is not binary. We're at least three. We have, even in the Sanskrit language, there's masculine gender for the words, feminine gender, and there's neuter. And neuter doesn't actually mean neutral. It means something between masculine and feminine that encompasses both. It does not encompass both.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they were for us the Atma Jnana, the very kind of the soul wisdom, or the very kind of wisdom which uplift us from um, uplift us to do something more constructive, to understand everything around us. A person who possesses that, or who is trying to kind of invoke that very kind of Atmajnana within them, that was more important than the identity of that person. We never bothered about the expandable list of identities around a particular person, whether a person who was born to a fisherwoman compiling Vedas, or a cowherd boy turned to be the supreme god, or all the Kshatriyas who evolve as Rama, or I mean, um, the very kind of notions around jati, varna, and caste itself is quite absurd, because there was a kind of discrimination, but then it is completely unfair to kind of talk everything with a kind of misunderstanding. I am not a Brahmin, basically, and I don't believe in the very kind of identity of Brahmin is a birth identity.
Yeah. No,
I come
agree.
from a very kind of um, uh, multi-caste identity, or like not a singular caste, or like
Yeah.
so the point here I'm raising this particular issue is that we never gave importance to the sex identity or gender identity or the caste identity of a person. We were much kind of appreciating the Atmajnana the person. I mean, the wisdom the person possessed, and that was more important to us than anything else from the beginning. That's what my gurus insisted to me, and none of my gurus are from the different. They all are from different communities. The reason is that the developing notions in Europe and America and academia about the casteism or different identities and equating that with racism and dividing the community is day by day growing in India also. But
Yeah.
before getting into the notions of it, to answer your earlier question, that is how intersex people were treated before this normalizing surgeries were
Yeah.
invented. That when, I mean, India is a country where we worship Mother Goddess and all that, but the very kind of heteronormative structure, the binary notions, and the very kind of misunderstanding, and also the very kind of economic values attached with women or female body, female infanticide was prevalent here.
Yeah.
We cannot deny that. And it has nothing to do with our dharma.
Yeah.
It has a lot to deal with the very kind of Victorian values for this past 300 years, or even before that, the very kind of system which was imposed on us, a systematic murder of indigenous values which we followed. So to the point, if I need to say that, like female infanticide, we have something called intersex infanticide.
I did not know this.
Why is this happening? Before 800 years, like starting from Aurangzeb or even before Aurangzeb, when such infants were born earlier, we see them holding higher positions, better positions in society. We don't want to go before 2,500 years before Buddha born.
Sure.
But let me take 1950. When Mao was destroying the whole Tibet and vandalizing and wiping Tibet from the map, the world map, when Alan Turing was compelled to commit suicide in London, in UK, so there was this person called Michael Lawrence Dillon fled to Bharat because of persecution.
Okay.
That because the British called it as grocery indecency. That is, unnatural sex. Any means of anal or oral sex is considered to be unnatural. That's why a male penetrating a female face to face is known as missionary position. Missionaries approved it, so it is known as missionary position. So, which itself is like, how you should have sex and like what type of position you should use, what kind of stupidity it is.
Sure.
And the point here is that Michael Lawrence Dillon fled from. Michael Lawrence Dillon is the modern world or the contemporary world's first modern trans man who underwent phalloplasty. Michael Lawrence Dillon was assigned as female at birth.
Okay.
And who is a medical doctor. When she was a woman, she felt that she didn't want to live as a woman. or she felt more like a man. So she wanted to transition as a man, and then she transitioned as a trans man by taking hormones and like
Sure.
phalloplasty is a procedure in which you will remove your uterus and then like replace a kind of flesh from your thighs or somewhere from your body, and artificial penis-like structure, a phallic structure will be growing within, and then like of course we have the example of Shikandi.
Sure. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So so the point is that Michael Lawrence like Dillon came to India, and then he was more attracted to Tibet.
Okay.
That's why I was talking to Mao. Mao was wiping off Tibet. Dalai Lama came to India. Like they were persecuted. Millions of Tibetans were killed, and like Michael Lawrence Dillon was more attracted to, driven to the Vajrayana philosophy.
Buddhist. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Vajrayana traditions, which has a lot to do with our Hindu tantric traditions, or it is subgroup of our tantric traditions, mingled with the Vajrayana tradition of Buddhism. So the point is that she was accepted as a monk, Buddhist monk, and Michael Lawrence Dillon is the first white person or first Westerner or an European or an somewhere from the West to be ordained as a monk, and also a first trans man to be ordained as a Buddhist monk, as a Vajrayana, I mean Tibetan Buddhist monk.
Right.
So they gave a name called Lobsang Jivaka for Michael Lawrence Dillon. Lobsang Jivaka admired India, admired Bharat and the different types of philosophies. And I mean, the reason I shared this with you is that this is our inclusive tradition. This is our inclusive nation. When someone was persecuted, they fled from the so-called progressive UK to, India, and living here and ordained as a monk. Even now, a Catholic Church cannot ordain a woman as a pope, or a transgender person as a monk, or inside their monastic order, diverse monastic order. We cannot compare, we cannot even use the name religion to our dharma. That's why we call it as dharma.
That's
because maybe probably if they invented the word, it is more derogatory because it was completely against our traditions. They called my ancestors as Satans, or ancestors worship as Satans. Worshipping God as mother is not okay for them, and worshiping nature is not okay for them. When we mean worship, we worship it as God. We don't have the concept of saint, God, and because our rishis, when we mean Patanjali or when we mean a particular rishi, for example, Vyasa himself, Vyasa may be a rishi. At a particular point of time, Vyasa himself is Vishnu.
Yeah.
Or themselves is a Vishnu. So we don't have the difference that, I mean, like their theological perspectives are different. So coming back to the issue that how intersex people were treated, they were not ostracized. They were not stigmatized. They were integral part of society, being part of every sphere of the society. We need to also take the very kind of population of Bharat in mind, because before 1940 or 35, the population of Bharat was less than 35 crores. What is 35 crore in billion or billion?
It's about 350 million, right?
Yeah, around
350 million people.
Pardon?
350 million people.
Yeah, 330 million people. But that was, during our grandparents' time.
Yeah.
But then now if we see, we have more than 103, that is 1.4 billion people.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
like more 800 million people, and more new caste came only after 1950. More
Really?
new identities generated only after that. So the population was very less in 1935. When we go back, like during Vijayanagara Empire or
Yeah,
even before 800 years, the population was even more less.
yeah.
And when we go back, they were integral part of every space, which means, I mean, even now, when we calculate the population of intersex people according to the UNHRC office, the United Nations Human Rights Council's High
Yeah.
Commissioner's office, is 1.8%. To
1.8.
1.6 to 1.8%, 1.6 to 1.8%.
Right.
Um,
Wow, that's a lot of people though. That's a
yeah,
yeah.
so which means in India alone, it will be more than 20 million people, which is 2 crores,
Yeah.
200, 20 million.
Yeah, it's 20 million people. That's a lot.
Yeah, 20 million is huge. And like, but the point is that um, Malta's population is lesser than that.
That's right.
And Madurai is bigger than Singapore.
Right.
And whether Chennai, maybe we can say Chennai is bigger than Singapore.
Sure.
So the point is that people, in a very stupid manner, comparing the notions of left and right and all this in India is horrible. I mean, America is not even, the contemporary America is not even 600 years old, whereas Madurai is more than 3,000 plus years old historical city. It
Right.
was
Right.
So the point here is that from the early civilized period, I don't calculate historicity based on Julian or Gregorian calendars, or
Right.
based on before Christ or Anno Domini.
Mm.
I calculate the calendar based on Buddha's birth. We
Interesting.
have more evidence because after Buddha died, within 600 to 700 years, the story of Christ is originating.
Sure. Sure.
But we don't have that much evidence for Christ, I believe. But then later, after 700 years, comes the story of Muhammad. But the point is that even before Buddha, we had a Jain philosophy,
Yeah.
beautiful philosophy. So from the very beginning of the Jain tradition or Jain philosophy, or the early Vedic times,
Mm-hmm.
these people were integral part of the society.
Yeah.
Not enough research has been done. We have some Comic-Con so-called self-proclaimed mythologists who are not even historians, who cannot even read Sanskrit.
Oh, you mean
They write,
Dev Patnaik?
I don't want to name
Yeah,
people,
you won't want
but
to. I'll name them. I don't care. So
we have people like Giti Dadhani, who's the India's first openly lesbian woman,
yeah.
who knows Sanskrit and
Yeah.
who is the Shakta follower.
Huh.
And we have Ruth Vanita.
Yeah, I know Ruth. I've heard of Ruth.
Yeah,
I've heard of Ruth.
they are academics.
Yeah.
They have done a lot of work on this subject.
Yeah.
Why don't we popularize them and their subjects? And this person has plagiarized all their work.
Yeah.
And kind of selling Comic-Con, like books, and turning our legends as a myth. And like, what, I don't even go with the etymology of myth.
Yeah,
because
it's a myth.
The point here is that when you come to Meenakshi temple, when you go to the 1,000-pillar hall here, the very first deity or the pratima or the, I don't want to call it as idol, because idol is something lifeless. When we say vigraha or pratima, it is with more life.
Yeah.
Because we can invoke life in it.
Yeah, Pradipratishta, right? You do the
Yeah. Yeah. So the first pratima you see is Arjuni's. Arjuna with mustache, beard, with beautiful jewels, with breast.
Yeah.
with mustache, looking like a with beard, long beard, and then with dressed.
Yeah.
So the point is that this was erected during the Vijayanagara Empire.
Yeah.
Or the hall is even more older than that, not more than millennium years old, but even then, how progressive they were. I mean, like the art system, the art forms,
Yeah.
how progressive it was.
I mean, like,
this.
I mean, in the Mahabharata, right itself, you have Brihannala, who's Arjuna, who is for changes genders for a year. You have Shikandin. You also have Illa, who is, you know, the son of Buddha. Who, yeah.
But it is artists visualizing and the very kind of aesthetic sense within because it is all about the artists and the artisans there, because it definitely not a slave will make like that, carve like. So it is with so much love and emotions, like Michelangelo's David. You will see this, you know, this is the symbol of genderqueer identity. This is the symbol of the very kind of non-binary movement which is evolving in the Europe or America. They should consider it as their symbol, indigenous symbol, because but you know, our own community here who are half-baked idiots who don't know Sanskrit, and also who don't know any of their own mother tongue, whether it be Tamil or Telugu or Kannada, or they cannot either speak or write their own mother tongue, or they go with all this so-called progressive Hellenistic values and abuse these native indigenous traditions. It is more visible within our LGBTI community. So that's why we use the term SOGI, not LGBTI in international platforms recent days.
What do you use?
So SOGI, SOGIESC.
What does that stand for?
SO means sexual orientation. GIE means gender identity expression. SOGI. SC means sex characteristics.
Okay.
SOGIESC. So SOGI, as we call. So you even have an independent SOGI expert to advise Antonio Guterres or to take care of the issues of or the policies around the LGBTI community, who is known as now SOGI identity, because the term lesbian, gay, bisexual, or the transgender, these are the very kind of American notions and the American words, which is not accommodating many indigenous identities around the globe or homogenizing the indigenous identities around the globe.
Which you know, I mean, just as a point I want to drive. It's very interesting to me because I do see quite a bit of LGBTQ activists in America and India who are very anti-Hindu, will say things like it is a hegemony, a patriarchy, it's male chauvinist, it's you know, caste oriented, and most of these people, to be honest, have never sat down and read anyone but maybe B.R. Ambedkar's Annihilation of Caste, and that's pretty much about it. And they kind of really don't understand the intricacies of 3,000 years of social dynamics within India, where you have so many different communities interplaying with each other over time.
Yeah, and gender-specific sacred spaces and the temples where we go and worship patron gods and goddess like Bahuchara Mata from Bahuruch village in Gujarat, where Devi, you know, sits on the rooster. It's not that whether a woman can sit on rooster is a question. The point here is that symbolifying Devi or the Prakriti, the mother nature, with like that, and a story around that. And patronizing, she's saying that you're my child. You're my child. You may be different. Your nature is different. Nature may be different, but that is integral part of nature. So there are several conversations between Devi and her disciples in a lot of folk traditions, in which Devi will be reinstating. I don't go with the term Devi, so that's why we call her as Ma or Mother, because Devi comes with a very kind of counter word Deva. So we are beyond the duality, or the binary notions. So she'll be reinstating again and again that look, you're my child, whatever you are, and you are integral part of me. You came from me, and I'm like you, and Devi is like, especially mother. Om Aim Kleem Chandikaye Nama, we say the root syllable Kleba. The word Klebi in Sanskrit means the notion of that word is intersectional or intersecting, or a kind of
in between.
In between, yes. So we intersex people are always known as Kleba, so Klebis.
Yeah.
And even if you see the word Om Aim Kleem Chandikaye Nama, Kleem derives from Kleba, the root syllable of it. And I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but I have discussed it with various Sanskrit scholars who run Gurukulams in Karnataka. They even said the same. They said that, oh, we never explore these notions, because that Acharya from Gurukul, I forgot the Gurukul's name, in Karnataka, in Bengaluru, near Bengaluru, outskirts of Bengaluru. This very old Acharya, he was telling me that, because I live as a male, I approach Devi as male. Probably you are blessed. You approach Devi as in between, and she herself stands in between.
That's awesome.
And he was telling me that, our Devi, our mother stands on the throat of Shiva, because she herself is Shiva. And there is nothing called Shiva there, and she is everything. So that's why we call her as Shodashi, or Rajarajeshwari in other name, or so. Because for us, the very kind of empowering image about the so-called pseudo-feminism, which never achieved, is that mother standing on Shiva. No one can deny it. We may have different philosophies or darshanas like Dvaita, Advaita, or Vishishta Advaita, or Kautiya Vaishnava, or Veera Shaiva, or Adishaiva, or even within the Shanmata. There may be different schools and thoughts. Some are agamic, some are not agamic. For example, Ayyappa was never part of the agamic traditions. Ayyappa was taken into the agamic notions later, because it is important to taken into agamic notions, because it's like an elementary or a newborn child, playing with its own the toilet, it goes and it sits on its own urine and all that. And the child doesn't know what is good or what is bad. So it's like when certain traditions and notions develop, people may sacrifice to the goddess like Kanchi Kamakshi, but when certain acharyas, when our mother teaches, acharyas are like mother, right? So when they kind of tell us that, because we don't question them why we need to learn ABCD or IE or everything. We simply learn it so that we speak that language or we use that words. So the point is that, like mother, they teach us the habits, they teach us, so they elevate us, like they send us to kindergarten, elementary school, and to high school, and to college and university. So these agamic traditions and binding Ayyappa tradition to the very kind of notions listed in Vedas, it's a higher level. And I mean, like, only few acharyas must have done that with the very kind of guidance from the very kind of Brahman or the very kind of the Pratima or the God they believe in.
Sure.
So the point is that like that, we also had our own agamic and non-agamic traditions, which cannot be just because few North Indian people or Northeast Indian people doesn't know these traditions doesn't mean or we are kind of in more than 2000 plus years old. Even before Buddha was born, these existed.
Sure.
Whether Aravan tradition of the Tamil Nadu or whether the Bahuchara Mata tradition or the Sakibeki tradition, which borrows a lot of bhakti bhava from the Gaudiya Vaishnava. I mean, what kind of, even for our Perumal, we do Matra Sevai, which
That's
means Perumal comes in the form of Andal or Thai, we call it, which means Lakshmi. He looks more handsome or beautiful or whatever. He looks more better when he comes in as mother. So that was the kind of approach. So this is what I learned from. So I had a very kind of vulnerable childhood.
Okay.
I was initially assigned as a female at birth because of the parents or the doctors couldn't kind of go through all this tests, because before 20 years, like 28 years, it was like the system was not that developed in India.
Yeah.
What was developed was that what everyone must know, that the surgeries, most of the doctors, it was even popular in Madurai or anywhere else. But my grandmother kind of like not okay with operating or like kind of making me to undergo normalizing surgeries and all that. But then after a week, again the notion was that they found that I have this kind of a phallic structure, so which is like not a male, so not a female but a male. But then so I was raised up as a male, and then I feel more androgynous. And when I grew up, to understand my own body, I struggled a lot to understand the very kind of variations within my within the very kind of life that is here, or whatever wherever it is, the life. My body, to understand this body, I struggled a lot. I mean, the mud helped me in to understand myself in a very better manner. So we found that we don't have any groups for people like us who are dharmic and who are from non-metropolitan cities. Most of the LGBTI movements are from big cities,
right?
And not even much history is documented about all of these people. So why don't we start one in Madurai? So we kind of, from Devi Bhagavatam, especially, Srishti Sthiti Vinashanam Shaktir Bhuteshanatani Gunashraye Gunamaye Narayani Namostate. So from that we took Srishti and we created Srishti Madurai in the place of Meenakshi Madurai. So it's like
Srishti is creation, right? Creation Madurai.
Yeah. So creation from Madurai, which is like where Meenakshi resides.
Yeah.
So even nowadays, some Tamil nationalists are saying that Meenakshi has nothing to do with Parvati, but the stupid stooges doesn't even kind of read our own texts.
No.
And they believe that all the Alvars and Ayanmars came from Australia and China. They wrote everything in Spanish, not in Tamil. So before 100 years, the Tamil we wrote was different. The stupid Karunanidhi changed all the letter alphabets were changed by the stupid Dravidian movement. And we live in a very insensitive place where a lot of sensitive people also there, but their voice is silenced.
Yeah.
Because we have people like MC Raja, who is the first Dalit MLA along with Swami Sahajananda in Madras Presidency. Who said that the superstition, the concept of the very kind of untouchability need to go from certain Hindu practices, but we are not against Hindu Dharma, or Hindu Dharma need to be upheld. The very kind of the practices is not discriminatory, but the very kind of views practiced by the human beings are discriminatory. He differentiated it. So, but not many people are comfortable with him. He is senior to Ambedkar.
Yeah.
He created the term Adi Dravida or Adi Telanga or SC/ST came from him. The term scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and like. So he remained as Hindu till his death, and he was even kind of part of the management of few temples. I mean, like. When he was part of the management, how they will not allow you inside the temple, and he himself belongs to the Dalit community.
Yeah.
So those who are known as Dalits in Tamil Nadu are not Dalits in Karnataka, or those who are known as Dalits in Karnataka are not known as Dalits in Kashmir. Or so the notions of this Dalit politics, along with this gender politics, all are targeting our beautiful indigenous traditions.
Sure.
And it is kind of empowering the very kind of toxic masculine, a very kind of patriarchal system which wants Mary to kneel in front of Jesus, or which want Allah to kind of seen in a very masculine form, in which, like, I don't want to go further about it, but
no,
then.
I totally understand. I mean, but India, I mean, for me, because I lived there too for a few years, like 3 years ago, I find India to be somewhat contradictory in this way, right? Like we talk about mother goddesses and Devi and Amba, but at the same time, there's so much violence against women. There's so much, degradation of women within the community itself. We have these lofty ideals which rarely ever live up to, and a lot of our texts are like, you know, if you go, because I've studied the Dharma Shastras and the Grihya Sutras, they're all over the map, right? Some of them are very liberal, like, you know, like Apastamba is pretty liberal when it comes to a lot of things, but you have Yajnavalkya or Manu who are much more conservative. So you have so much tradition.
But Manu himself is not from the so-called Brahmin.
No, he's Kshatriya, right?
He's Kshatriya, basically. And,
I mean, we just have this entire corpus of texts and different traditions that it's so difficult to point down and say this is what we are, right? We have so much liberality and so much spirituality.
Absolutely.
But we also have a lot of contradictions that we, you know, it's a mix of
and a lot of superstition because of when certain exclusive nature need to be protected, they create a very kind of system which is highly discriminatory. Order always comes with exclusion and a kind of certain. So, but then because diversity is completely opposite to equality. If there is equality, there will be no diversity. Then the concept, like I should not. But then going again to the notions of I don't believe in the duality of right or left, and that too in India that is not true at all.
Right.
And I want you to have darshan of my mother.
That's beautiful.
So this is
Vivekananda, and then you have Mata and Ramakrishna there. Devi, it's amazing.
And yes, this is my small shrine. Actually.
No, I mean it's I just find it so interesting because, you know, in historically I feel like so much of the community that you're talking about that intersects and everyone that's in between and people that are not typical but are part of nature are inherently just as Hindu and connected as everyone else have been treated relatively well on the Indian subcontinent compared to the rest of the world. But we've seen, you know, especially since the British time, a lot more kind of degradation.
It starts with Muslim invasion of India itself. Because even before British, we have Portuguese.
Yeah.
invasion. The Goa Inquisition is the most horrible thing ever happened to India. That is the way they control the Konkan region and some parts of South. Uh, because they kind of burned indigenous Geneverian communities on stake,
Yeah.
and they were not comfortable. They call them as witches. So whatever happened, same with Vatican. They kind of they're not different from Vatican. They are mouthpiece of Vatican in another way at the time, and they were controlling the entire Portuguese kingdom. Like the so-called their spiritual power and the ruling power was kind of controlled and kind of bottlenecked with each other and like growing like that from the beginning. Even before them, Fatwa-i Alamgiri passed by Aurangzeb, which included anal or oral sex, especially people of same-sex identity, to be more specific to male and women who are indulging in adultery or so-called adultery or whatever. They will be stoned to death, or like according to the Hadiths, 100 lashes is the very kind of minimum punishment in the public place, humiliating them and lashing them. So there are records and there are much documentation need to be done. What Srishti is doing now is that to run an organization, we need three things, I believe. That is knowledge resources, who creates the knowledge and narrators, who controls it, and who owns it matters a lot. For always the very kind of European and American centric namesake Indians in body, but more horrible Victorian filthy mind they have, which is completely against any indigenous notions around the globe, but okay with Islam or Christianity. These are the very kind of academic narratives which is coming on these indigenous gender variant communities. So to own the knowledge resources, to run an organization, knowledge resources, the work from the human as human resources, the knowledge or the contribution or the work, the service from the human, like service resources from the human resources, and the financial resources.
Sure.
So most of these people who are talking against India or Hindu Dharma or vastly funded by people like George Soros or his organizations or a lot of American movements and European movements. But those who talk about reality, those who are rooted to the grassroots activism, who work with people with larger communities, and who try to document the indigenous traditions and the diverse notions here, their work is not supported at all. I'm doing this seva as part of the dharma because I firmly believe that we are the bottom line of the triangle.
Okay.
If we get disturbed, one of the fastest growing religion among the LGBTI community in Europe is Islam. One of the they have gay imams, lesbian imams, and like gay inclusive mosques, and what kind of comedy it is, I don't know. And we have queer Muslim project in Delhi, which if they are talking about Muslims, that is fine. If they're talking about Islam and if they preach Islam, that is fine. But what they do instead is like Hindu bashing. What they do instead is like dividing the community and the country, licking the feet of those very kind of Islamic radical terrorist organizations and their sympathizers, working along with them, going line in line with them, and going against the very kind of integrity of the land and the values of this land, which is not okay. So there are a lot of organizations, even within India. This Protestant church has appointed a trans woman as pastor. This trans women pastor is converting a lot of cis men and women to Christianity.
Right.
And why we are not bothered about all this? Why are we not looking at those temples which are meant for You may be an Iyengar or a Smarta Brahmin, or you may be any practicing Hindu, but the temples which belongs to these larger communities are also part of Hindu tradition. How
100%.
come
Yeah.
you can deny that? It is your duty to protect the temple of Arvan temple. It is duty of every single Hindu to protect the temple of Bahuchara Mata,
Yeah.
where every year thousands and thousands, around 500,000 gender diverse communities congregate during the April 3rd week, or in different months in different parts of India. So to protect the gender specific sacred spaces, to protect the gender specific sacred narratives, to protect their traditions, to document it, that was one of our primary goals. And one of our primary goals is to kind of to be a policy think tank to advise the government of India to make decisions and to give them the very kind of policy which will not dispute the dharmic integrity of the community or their specific nature.
So if I may ask, how many people do you have working at Srishti Madurai?
Now we have, I'm.
Oh, you're on mute. You have to take your mute off. Okay, there you go.
Mother,
Sorry?
Amma.
Yeah.
The very first person is Sri Ma, that is Sharda Devi is always with me, and Kali, or Shodashi, or Bhairavi, or whatever we call her, she is with us. She is the patron of Srishti. I firmly believe, and whatever is happening around us, she is the nature around us. She is the
100%.
universe. Yeah, and apart from her, I'm there, and we have an Prashant Singh, who is a very important volunteer, whom we got very recently. And there's another girl called Avantika and Meghna. So there are like around this 3 people. And apart from that, we use volunteers to crowd control or something when we organize meetings. But we don't have enough people to work on the intellectual sphere, because it's very, now only we are forming a group, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, me, and there is this another guy called Ankit Bhuttani, who is, maybe you must also talk to him, because he ran a group called Hindu Alliance in Bombay. When I say Mumbai, I remember Mumba Devi, so or Dillika Ma.
Yeah.
So how beautiful the cities were named after the Devis, even Kanyakumari or Kamakya or Tripura Sundari or Tripura. That's the beauty of this land. The whole land. To tell a small story about this land, I want to say one thing, that each and every single symbol or the totems we use, for example, are the Ashoka Stupa, the Sarnath Stupa, which we use it. It's from that time. And there is this person called Ananda Kumaraswamy and Sister Nivedita wrote a lot about our dharma, right?
Yeah.
And born as a Christian woman, and being an atheist, and coming to Sanatana Dharma, and Swami Vivekananda kind of giving her brahmacharya, naming her Bhagini Nivedita. She kind of told us the importance about Tatishi Maharishi. The Vajrayuta, the symbol which she took and placed it in the saffron, which represents Tyaga, it was the first ever national flag of India, which she designed.
Yeah.
And she inspired Abhindranath Tagore, a lot of people, and read verses from the Vedas and everywhere. to narrate how Mahabharati should look.
Yeah.
And later, because without her, we would have not got whatever Vivekananda spoke or wrote in anything. Uh, Vivekananda is such a man that he was very fast and like he came quickly, went quickly.
Yeah.
But then the point is that she inspired one of the army general's wife, Savitri Kaloka. I forgot her full name, but her name starts with Savitri. But she was born, she's a Swiss white woman. I mean, like an European
Savitri
woman.
Devi, yeah.
Savitri, not Savitri Devi, but Savitri Kaloka. I mean, I forgot her full name.
Okay.
But her name starts with Savitri. So she kind of went. She was a lot inspired. She was much inspired by Nivedita, and she adopted that Vajrayuta, which represents selflessness. If you're selfless, you are God, and you're the supreme, and so that's the darshana behind the logo, and she kind of placed it in Paramveer Chakra. She designed the logo of Paramveer Chakra.
I did not know that. Wow.
I mean, even the underneath of this Ashoka, the Sarna Stupa, we see Satyameva Jayate, which is from Brihadaranyaka.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, people cannot come and say, India is not, this is a secular, so-called secular country. You remove all this.
Yeah.
Well, people will say that. Definitely will say that tomorrow. Because they are not going back to their roots or knowing their roots. This is not the false nationalism what I am talking about. This land has some kind of indigenous traditions and philosophies and notions and a kind of, when we try to understand it with a kind of humility, the very kind of light and the happiness or the very kind of bliss we see in it, it's huge and vast. And the point is that, so we always try to uphold this light or the notions which our dharma is kind of holding it through mother's blessings.
Yeah.
So one of our important work is that supporting Santi Soundararajan. In sports, only women need to undergo sex verification test. Santi was a Dalit women athlete. In 2006, during Congress regime, Congress failed her. Kalmadi and Lalit Panot banned her from participating in sports because
in testosterone, Doha, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she was kept nude for more than 7 hours, nude in front of 11 male doctors during Congress tenure. These are the people who talk about Rohit Vemula and politicize the death of Rohit Vemula. And we took up her case. In 2014, the same thing happened to Tudi Chand, the athlete called Tudi Chand, and the present Assam's Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal, at the time he was the sports minister, he sponsored the case of Tudi Chand in Court of Arbitration for Sports in Lausanne, in Switzerland. And the case was won because of us, because of the Modi government, because of the Indian government. Rio Olympics became the first Olympics which took place without any sex verification test, in which Caster Semenya won a gold medal.
Wow.
Yeah. Caster Semenya, same thing happened to her in 2010. They said she's not a woman, she cannot participate under women's category. But something happened, they allowed her to participate again in 2012 in London Olympics. She won silver medal. And she's a good friend of Shanti and mine. I've spoke to her a few times and like over phone. And but then the point is that it is not just about Shanti. We worked on several cases like this. We are trying to kind of document few important issues by publishing a book on all this native indigenous traditions and values and their practices, and which I am talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and we need more resources for that. We need a lot of support. That's why I thought of coming to US, because I was awarded kind of an there is this US based organization called HRC Human Rights Campaign, which named uh, um, global that because of the recent work we done, the so-called progressive California cannot pass a bill to protect the integrity of the rights of the intersex infants and children, whereas a place in Tamil Nadu where some people here struggle to get good drinking water and good sanitation, to access good. So a place like here in Tamil Nadu, because of the work from Srishti Madurai, Tamil Nadu government became the first government in the world to have a legal regime to protect the rights of intersex children. We are the second in the world after Malta to have an executive order passed by the Tamil Nadu government. Tamil Nadu is with more than 77 million people. The population is more than Netherlands population.
Yeah.
Whereas the Netherlands government, the foreign ministry, some of them, like the foreign, like there was the organization called COC, in which we also have an Indian. They supported us. Like they gave us like $2,000 to organize the meeting, and like they supported us by giving uh, 5,000 more dollars to kind of organize a very important meeting. So apart from that, whatever comes to us, mother sends it, and most importantly, disability rights or child rights or HIV activism or LGBT rights are always so patronized by the so-called the communists who killed more than 13 crore people in this past century. But then that is highly dangerous. That is not okay. That will deroot all indigenous traditions and notions. So that's why we want to own the narrative, because um, as you know, the world's largest visible LGBTI population lives in India.
Yeah.
It's an evolving challenge to kind of frame some policy which is not going against the integrity of our dharma.
How has the community responded to your initiatives and Srishti Madurai?
A lot of people respect our work. They respect our work. There are fringe groups which are highly radical left, and they are the one who want to separate Kashmir from India. You must have seen that very recently. I was because of my one tweet. These people kind of removed my name and the posters which announced my talk in Delhi in the India's first LGBTI job fair. So that is their tolerance. That is their, that's why they are advocating for freedom of speech only in the way you should speak like them. If you speak like them, they will allow you.
Yeah.
If you are kind of siding with their political thoughts, they will side with you. They love to talk about Palestine and Kashmir, but they don't want to talk about, Tibet or Tamil genocide or Uyghur Muslims or how China is controlling every single part of the world and influencing everything because they are funding them. Whether it is Pereo Madiar's funded scroll or any Soros funded or any liberal thoughts or ideology, people funding a lot of Indian media who are hyper anti-Semitic and who are against the integrity of India or the indigenous traditions around the globe, who lick the feet of Vatican or who are okay with the churches in the name of atheism. They promote the very kind of anti-Hinduism. They promote the very kind of irrational, Islamic fundamentalism, and that is not okay. That is not fine. And I have a lot of friends. In Srishti, we have a lot of Muslim volunteers. We have Christian volunteers. We have Parsi volunteers. um, but then they all go with the integrity of India. They all go with, they all accept the Constitution of India. But we also have problem growing in recent days because these people who are dividing the community, they are coming from very rich background.
Yeah, I can see that.
And you see that people like Godrej and a lot of people support them. And they work as freelancers. They study in Harvard, Oxford, or Cambridge, or Columbia, or LSC. I mean, they get all this chevening and rod because they write against India, writing about India, writing the problem within India, writing about the problem in India, writing about it in a very constructive manner as an Indian, as a responsible Indian, is different from acting like an agent to foreign countries, to work with the vested interest to divide this country. I will not allow this.
Yeah.
Till my last, I will not allow this. I am the one monster they worry about. So it's like, I am the one Kali which will stand on their foot forever.
Yeah.
So, which is like, I'm not okay with any of this. So I don't need anyone's support. I don't need Hindus or the horrible, lazy creatures who don't understand the threats which are coming to them. And no Hindu supported me ever, except Arvindan Neelakandan, or except people like Arvindan Neelakandan and few people. Ramakrishna Math is not, I'm not part of Ramakrishna Math, and whatever I do, it has nothing to do with Ramakrishna Math or mission.
I understand.
Independent organization, I'm independent.
Yeah.
So people should, people think that I'm an RSS agent. I haven't even went to a Shaka so far. What kind of stupidity? They believe that I am funded by BJP. I wish BJP is funding us and BJP is listening to us. The stupid people will never listen to us. But what to do? I trust in my prime minister. Whatever the person is, that person is my prime minister, and he's representing the people of our Bharat and the values which we carry. And he's more constructive than any other prime minister India had. And we cannot compare him with Trump. I hate Trump. I mean, I don't like Trump. I hate anyone, but I don't go with whatever Trump speaks, because America is occupied land. India is not an occupied land. America belongs to the indigenous people, whereas India belongs to this indigenous people.
Yeah, but America doesn't have indigenous people anymore. Most of them are gone.
Indigenous people are more crypto-Christians, and like they are Christianized indigenous people who are against the native values in their land, I believe. A lot of people are turning back to their actual indigenous tradition, which are more shamanic values, or shamans, or the native shamans or Mayans, whom the church demonized.
Yeah.
They are their ancestors. Let them look up to them, not, because I don't see, anyway, now I have my US visa, so I can enter US anytime. I wish the immigration seeing that, so that like they'll not be mine.
I don't think that, you haven't said anything to deny. Yeah, you're fine. Your free speech is well protected.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I consider China and America both are like problematic, and China is like a kind of fire. China is a kind of China spit, not venom but fire, because we cannot survive it. Whereas at least America spit venom, which will not kind of fire all of us. So China is more dangerous than US, so highly problematic. Like we Indianize America, we should Indianize China too, or else. Or we should Taiwanize. We should Taiwanize China in a very non-American way, because Taiwan itself is coming under the influence. Of course, it itself, at least Taiwan have more number of actual Chinese philosophers or the
Sure.
anti-Chinese wisdom, because we are not against Chinese wisdom. We like the Chinese wisdom, we respect it, but we are completely against the China and their policies and their stupidity, which is kind of costing us a lot, which is costing us Kashmir, which is costing us every single thing. And,
right. So,
anyway,
has the Hindu community in India started to get more involved with you and bring you to the forefront, or support the movement towards more integration, or not integration, but more, I guess, talking about the LGBTQ community and Hinduism, and how to bring them back into the fold in a more meaningful way?
They are not okay with the term LGBT, many of them, but they are okay with whatever indigenous terms we have. And they nowadays, a Hindu parent can just refuse, not kill their child just because they are gay or lesbian or whatever they are. We don't have the persecution mindset of many. At least they run out of their home, they live freely. Tamil Nadu court recently also organized the marriage between a cis male and a trans person and intersex person can marry a man under a Hindu marriage law. We are also in high courts, higher courts for interpreting the constitution, because we have a highly inclusive constitution, but our laws are not inclusive. Also, we are trying to make our laws more inclusive, and laws are, because many people need to know that in America, that the temples and the churches and the mosques are not taxed in India. Church, largest educational institution in India, in which the government have no say over what kind of syllabus or curriculum they should frame.
That's true.
They teach everything against Hindu tradition. I studied in a Christian school where they said my ancestors worshipped Saturn. My ancestor worshipped a piece of rock. Meenakshi is nothing but a Saturn. So these are the very kind of thoughts. They kind of descended it from that, and they are going to a different concept like caste and different identity politics they are creating. The left, which is promoting or kind of supporting the LGBTI community, or the Congress, which is so-called, supporting this, when they were in power, change their cover page or the image in their social networking sites into rainbow. They were stupid stooges that they didn't do anything when they were in power.
Sure.
Now they are kind of, inducted trans person who is so stupid and who is from the elite community, and they are trying to project they are super inclusive. Whereas from the beginning, BJP or RSS never officially issued a statement against LGBTI community. I have Mohanji Bhagwat, Mohanji, saying that LGBT people are integral part of society. What they are, how they are. We need to accept them as what they are. The society is changing, and we need to change. What else we can say?
Yeah, no, I that's right.
Larger mindset within the progressive Hindus who are following the real Sanatan Dharma, who don't want to abuse women, or who don't want to kind of divide people in the name of caste and all that. We do have a lot of progressive Hindus. That's why Modi got elected, I believe. And all this fundamentalists or kind of people who withhold their values, they are not respected. Subramaniam Swami may have his own opinion. That is his freedom of speech. He is not asking people to kill them like an Islamic imam or someone. Whereas that is his freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean that he is an idiot or he's a crooked person. He may be an intelligent person, but BJP have shown his place within the BJP, or the Sangh has shown his place within the Sangh. So point is that people like Subramaniam Swami and people like Baba Ramdev or not official spokesperson of RSS and BJP.
Yeah, I agree.
And we, the official spokesperson or RSS always supported, more than supporting, they worried about with the very kind of campaigns like us.
Yeah.
With the very kind of approach, they worried about the dignity of these us,
Yeah.
the dignity of, because when before 2 months, when a trans man, when a person, when a girl assigned as female at birth ran out of their her house, when she came out, I called every single known platforms. I mean, the government girls hostel or the girls hostel. No one want to accept this girl when they know her gender identity. So it was RSS which organized a house for her. They said, Gopi, if you need, we will rent a house. Whomever is running out of their house like this, these girls can be accommodated there. We will provide them groceries and all that. How many organizations will say this?
Not many. I mean, that's really amazing.
This is what so-called Hindutva fascist Nazis are doing. You know, they are supporting the LGBTI community. They are supporting the actual struggling communities, not sitting with an Apple iPad or laptop or tweeting something, sitting in a poshy Mumbai luxury AC-packed house, doing a lipstick activism by dividing the community and getting scholarships. This is not what they are doing. They are supporting the really struggling community.
You're right. Right. No, I understand. I understand. Yeah. So Gopi, I mean, this has been a long conversation. It's almost 2 hours. I thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to talk about or bring up?
Yeah, your child or your son or daughter or your gender fluid child, whatever they are, whether they are your daughter or son or whatever, they are your child, and they are your child. If you are Hindu, do accept them. More than accepting them, connect them with us. Connect them with us. Talk to us. We are there to support you and help you with all your endeavors, and a lot of parents from US do connect with us too, but through your show, I also want to connect with the larger Hindu community, just not Hindus. If you are Indian, we also work with the churches.
Sure.
I designed the curriculum. I contributed several articles for a book which is part of the curriculum for the Christian pastors, for the Protestant pastors. I'm a practicing Hindu, but I work with interfaith movements to make their religious groups to accept themselves, and I value our dharma more than anything. So the point is that what I want to share is that the American diaspora, like the people who are living there of Indian origin, they must, the Hinduism is more than what they think or what they assume. Our Hindu Dharma is not their Hindu Dharma. There is no one Hindu Dharma. The Dharma is diverse. They need to understand that, and we need to always stand for which is for diversity, which is not monotheist, or which is not for a singular identity. So if they come to know their child is different, they have a different sexual orientation or a gender identity or sex characteristics, please connect with us. We have a helpline. We have a phone number. Please feel free to give me their WhatsApp number in your, please flash it when we. That's the helpline. They can connect with me, and thank you so much for all you are doing from America. I wish we meet soon. We even this COVID-19, all the disease, we worship her as Bagla Devi. We are people, we worship all form of, because we don't have anything evil or good or anything. So let Bagla Devi not torture us much. So let her leave us soon. So let, of course, Stay Jaima and Vande Mataram.
Thank you so much. I just want to end by also saying, in I believe it's the Mahabharata where the line is Vikriti evam prakriti, right? Diversity is nature, right? So yes, it's from Rig Veda. So we have to accept the diversity of human or everything. The diversity of everything is natural. We should never treat something as unnatural or unnormal. It's all part of all the same Brahman.
What is natural?
Yeah. So just thank you for your time. Thank you for the hard work you're doing, and let's keep in touch. After the show, just give me the hotline number and your email so I can put that down for anyone that wants to connect with you and the website and all that stuff.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, and thanks for watching. Sending all love from Madurai Meenakshi and me. And Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Sri
Sumalaya Samire Pavana Munijana Yamuna Tire Pavana Munijana Yamuna Tire Gayati Vanamaali Gayati Vanamaali Maduram Gayati Vanamaali